And to Japan now. The country is bracing itself for the most dangerous operation at the Fukushima nuclear plant since it was crippled by a quake and tsunami in March 2011. The company running the facility plans to move radioactive fuel rods to safe storage. RT's Alexey Yaroshevsky joins us now live from Japan. Alexey, hi there. Well, tell us, why is this operation so dangerous?
You know, usually this operation is not so difficult. It happens at nuclear stations, more than 400 of them on everyday basis across the world. But of course, in Fukushima case, this is something unique and very risky. Now, the fuel rods are extracted from pools using automated cranes at most of the stations. At Fukushima, not only these pools where these rods, and each rod weighs more than 2 tons, not only these pools are crippled, but the machinery, the automated machinery, doesn't work as well. So every rod has to be extracted from the pool manually. Now imagine, provided that these rods cannot even hit each other, this may cause a nuclear chain reaction and grave consequences. Now imagine if a human error or for instance, an earthquake, and this area is very seismic active. Just last week, 10 days ago, there was an earthquake in the area, a 7-point magnitude earthquake not far from the station. So anything like this, God forbid, of course, but if anything like this happens, then the consequences could be even more severe than what it is now. But the TEPCO company running the Fukushima clear-up process and the Japanese government are now in a vicious cycle situation because on the one hand, they need to remove these fuel rods. They are contaminating the water, as has been reported, in the waters of the Fukushima nuclear power plant. And on the other hand, of course, this is a very risky venture because they have to literally extract every rod, and there's more than 1,000 of them, and each rod has to be extracted manually.
Indeed, it's a very complex facility, and you've traveled to the exclusion zone, we know that. What did you see there? What did you witness there?
Well, we just returned from the Fukushima exclusion zone. The closest we could get to the nuclear power station was about 6 kilometers, the final checkpoint before you enter the completely no-go zone. We actually managed to sneak inside the no-go zone in other parts of the area. And what surprised me the most, and I've been to the Chernobyl exclusion zone many times, that some of the towns and villages just 10, 15 kilometers from the nuclear power stations have now been reopened for people. We literally saw the people rebuilding their houses. To be fair, the radiation levels there are quite low. They are lower than in some of the European cities, in fact. But 60, 70 kilometers from the station, the places which had never been in the exclusion zone, which had always been open to the people, we've managed to find hotspots of radiation with about 3 microsieverts per hour. And this is exactly the Chernobyl radiation level, the ones I witnessed in Chernobyl on many occasions. And this is, of course, creating a huge discourse and discussion in Japan, whether it was the right decision to reopen these areas, because again, if any earthquake or any calamity happens again, then these people would have to be re-evacuated again, even that's provided, of course, if there will be anyone to re-evacuate, depending on the scale of a possible tragedy.
Well, just picking up on what you said about the discourse that's been opened by the situation in Japan, how strong is the anti-nuclear movement in the country?
Well, in fact, in the Fukushima region itself, there are several NGOs who do not believe the government and the TEPCO organization in their measurements of the radiation levels. The one which struck me the most, and we talked with them yesterday, the movement called the Mothers of Fukushima. These are ordinary women who are afraid for the safety and health of their children. They bought radiation meters, which the cheapest of them costs around $1,000 US, and they're just patrolling the areas, taking their own measurements and sending them to the government. But the government, as they say, is doing nothing. It is not considering their radiation measurements, as if they're trying to play down the scale of the things happening. Even in Tokyo, in front of the industrial ministry, there's a picket, there's a protest happening for already 800 days with people there protesting against nuclear energy and the actions of the government and the TEPCO. They told me today, which also was quite shocking to me, that they are against the idea of holding the Summer Olympics in Tokyo in 2020. So you can see how serious the rhetoric of the anti-nuclear movement is now in Japan, even though they say that their voice is being often silenced by those at power.
Right, Alexey, thank you so much for bringing us this update live from Japan. And Christina Consolo, founder and host of Nuked Radio, doubts that engineers will be able to pull this off, given the level of damage at the plant.
The more I study this problem, in fact, I've been up all night reading. I haven't even gone to sleep yet. The more that I look into this, I don't know how Japan thinks they're going to pull this off. The pictures that have been released by TEPCO and the amount of damage that the racks in the pool have sustained, there's no way that they're going to be able to pull those assemblies out and do it without bumping into other things, and that's where the danger is. The other problem is we have 3 molten cores that we don't even know where they are, and it's really surprising that there isn't a single expert that has called for ground-penetrating radar in order to identify where these cores are, so that that problem can also be addressed.